Hello. Um, just want to speak a little bit about the royal wedding. The chances are a few things that I'm going to say is not original. This has been extensively covered in the British press, and I would suggest in large segments of the American media as well. Just a few takeaway thoughts really about this. Um, One thing that comes to my mind is that Prince Harry, now the Duke of Sussex, has actually been relegated in line succession. Not so long ago, he was third in line to the throne. He's now actually sixth in line to the throne. So you would think with that his public attention would fade a little bit, but that hasn't been the case. And I think the reason for that is because the public has sort of grown up with Princes William and Harry, actually technically the Duke of Cambridge and the Duke of Sussex. I think they're still in the public mind known as Princes William and Harry. The public has sort of grown up with them, and they will forever be known as Diana's sons. So for that reason, whilst he's technically been relegated to sixth in line to the throne, Prince Harry is still one of the most prominent members of the royal family. So that's interesting that the estimated number of viewers, and there's no scientific way to really know this for sure, but it was estimated at 1.9 billion, which is the same number estimated for the wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton, as they then were titled. Um, so collectively, these two weddings are the most viewed in human history. Charles and Diana's, of course, was a huge event at the time, but the world population was smaller then. So that's quite remarkable. I mean, from a British perspective, it's quite something to think that so much attention is focused on. I was going to say on a British couple, but a big aspect of this is, of course, the Anglo American factor. Of course, the last high profile American to marry into the British royal family was one Wallace Simpson back in 1936, and that, of course, is associated with the abdication crisis. But Britain is a very different society from the 1930s. And the fact you have a divorced woman, I understand Meghan Markle is divorced. She's quite politically outspoken. She's an actress. It's it's all kind of just footnotes, big footnotes, but footnotes nonetheless. It's no longer an issue, and I think that's very much a good thing. There was a lot of attention on the Episcopalian bishop, I forget his name now, who brought a great deal of vibrancy to the service. I enjoyed it. I watched the service. I do feel the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh gave away a bit of body language that they weren't quite used to that style of oratory. And certainly St George's Chapel isn't used to that. But, you know, in a sort of tongue in cheek way, these four young people, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, have been described as the Fab Four. In the 1960s, we had the Beatles. In the 2010s, we have William, Kate, Meghan, and Harry. Now, it's tongue in cheek, of course, but seriously, I do believe that they are a great asset to the royal family, and I believe they will be. I think they're very much modern royals. I think, even the most ardent Republican, you'd have to be a very bitter person to look at these young people and feel nothing but contempt. Um, I honestly think they're very amicable. I'm not going to pretend like, I know them personally or something, but I do think that they are very, it's very difficult not to get a good feeling about them because they just seem to be very in touch. I mean, obviously they've had different lives, especially William and Harry from the rest of us. But I honestly think when I look at the Duke of Cambridge, I think he strikes me as a guy who's going to make a good future king. And I say this as I see myself as a moderate royalist. I am a royalist, I won't deny it, but I'm not one of these people that camps out all night hoping to get good photos, that sort of thing. But I'm enough of a royalist to have, as an example, That's for the Queen's 90th birthday. I do collect royal tack simply for history. I'm into history. That's it, really. Um, yeah, I mean, the coverage was a little excessive, I think, leading up to it. But in a world where there's so much negative news, I mean, on the same day, well, just the day before, there was a Cuban plane crash and the Texas school massacre. In a world with so much sad and tragic news, I think that, it's happy news. So, of course, people welcome that. And I do think, whilst I'm not a fan of sycophantic royalism, and I would never ever support a situation where Republicans cannot have their opinion. I will always support the right to have an opinion. But I do question the mentality of vitriolic Republicans. I came across one guy, Scottish nationalist, of course, and the sort of hatred that he was coming out with. I'm thinking, my God, get a life. I mean, the point here is if you don't like the royal wedding, no one forces you to watch it. As for all the stuff about the cost, well, as I understand it, the royal couple requested that they didn't have presents, that any that they preferred any designated gifts instead would be donations to homeless charities, HIV charities, and veterans charities that Prince Harry supports. And that really is in keeping with the nature of Harry. I think that I mean I understand the notion of it, like from a Republican perspective, it is a bit insane looking at people sort of camping out all night and so on. I do understand that, but equally, I don't understand the mentality of Republicans who are so hate filled. And I'm not talking about all Republicans, I'm talking about a hardcore aspect who, instead of just seeing it what it is, to young people getting married, they get very much into the political side of it. And it's, whilst there might be legitimate concerns about the cost and so on, to get to the point of, wishing ill towards the couple. And I've seen that in some Republican circles. I mean, look at Jeremy Corbyn. I have a lot of critique of Jeremy Corbyn, but he done the right thing. He just wished him well, and he's a Republican, and he's entitled to be a Republican. But for some people to actually get into vitriolic sentiments, you'd have to be a pretty bitter person to take a happy, joyous event and turn it into something very ugly. To be that vitriolic. I don't understand that. I mean, Britain is not Thailand. We don't have Les Majest in this country, thank God. Um, People can criticize the royal family, it's fine. But I think we are still very much, people say the royal sentiments are decreasing. Every time that is speculated, it's defied. People said leading up to the Diamond Jubilee, oh, there's no longer the same love for the monarchy, and that was proven to be false. I think this country is still very much pro monarchy. I do think things are going to change when the Queen passes away. That might be for another video, but I have to say my gut feeling is it's more good than bad. I understand the criticism. I agree with some of the criticism, but my gut feeling is this is really, really a part of our national identity, and I happen to believe these four young people are good. They're good for the country. They're good for the monarchy, and yeah, that's my gut feeling. Anyway, I wish Harry and Meghan a very happy future. I think I have to say, by the way, Meghan Markle seemed very relaxed under the circumstances. She is in the deep end. Then again, she is an actress. She's been in the public light, so she'll already have some adaptation to fame. But this is going to be a very radically different life, and I think Harry's going to help her with that. I think the Duchess of Cambridge will as well. But I really do wish them all the best because I think they're genuinely decent human beings. That's my gut feeling, and people could judge that as they will. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, and Best wishes to the royal couple.